Gamespot TV. Ever wonder how a game gets made? We talk to the game developers and walk you through it. And we visit the circuits to find out that something wicked comes this way. Plus, we have a preview for Wannabe Ninja. Stick around. It's game time. Whoa!
Hello and welcome to Gamespot TV in Dallas, Texas. I'm Kate Patello.
And I'm Adam Sessler, and we're here in front of the offices of the Gathering of Developers.
Otherwise known in the industry as God, which is actually pretty appropriate considering we are shooting at a church today.
Yes. Now, Texas is home to a ton of development houses. There's Ion Storm, there's Origin, there's 3D Realms, and so on.
So we decided to get in there and take full advantage of that and find out how the development process really works.
Here we are at the Ion Storm offices in Austin, Texas. This is where Deus Ex was produced. And given the size and scope of that title, this is a pretty good place to get the sense of what it takes to make a game.
Producer is responsible for everything. And that's kind of true. You're responsible for the schedule, the budget, all of the resources. You're responsible for the quality of the game, the gameplay, the testing process, packaging, everything. You know, you've got a pre-production process, a production process, and a post-production process. In pre-production, that's where you kind of map out what the game is going to be. At that point, you can move into production and start fleshing out the team, hiring all the production engineers and the production designers and the production artists. That's the bulk of the project. That's the middle year or so, and then you get into a post-production process where you're dealing with audio, finalizing audio, testing, dealing with packaging issues, and then that wonderful day when it hits the shelves.
You also need somebody kind of watching over what is our core gameplay across all the missions, and who's coordinating how many missions we have, and how far along are they, and when is an individual designer's taste in violation with the core principles for the game. So that's a lot of times that's what the designer ends up doing. Basically, the role of designer on a project today is really dictated by what kind of game you're making. We were making a first-person perspective role-playing game, so the designers did basically a huge percentage of the content. We built the world. We're world builders.
The purpose of audio is to immerse the player in the experience. Now, these days, games are becoming more and more like simulations. Of course, there's more realism. You've got more, 3D. You've got, a lot more immersiveness. You've got a lot more realism in the games. And so, what people are expecting is, make you feel as though you're part of the world.
We have these 10 states for every basic type of character in the game, and somebody has to sit there and write different things that each character would say in those situations. So you need to phrase something that's generic enough that fits in all situations, but at the same time makes the player feel like the character is responding specifically to what he's doing.
QA is the process of testing and ensuring that the quality of a product is as high as possible before it goes to market. From the moment that we get the product, we're looking for issues. We're looking with a critical eye for it. This is working. This doesn't make sense. This is broken. At the point that we find those things, we can't just say, oh, it's broken. We have to go back and clearly identify exactly what the problem actually is with as much information as possible.
I know what kind of games I want to make, and I can communicate that clearly to people. And you surround yourself with people who want to make that kind of game.
Now that we've talked to a studio that worked on a single-player game, we thought it appropriate to see what it takes to work on a multiplayer game, especially a massive multiplayer game. So we crossed town to go to Origin, who gave us Ultima Online, and are currently working on their follow-up, aptly titled Origin.
I'm the person who is sort of the judge and jury, the decision maker for the project on what features are going in, what features are going out, and setting the priorities for the game and sort of keeping the vision.
When we start a game, we do a long design process. We take that and we start actually writing code, working with the designers to get what they want to happen. Then we actually test the game, and then we actually finally, one blessed day, manage to ship and actually get it out the door.
I guide all of this team of artists in terms of schedules and timelines and cohesiveness and look and feel. Everybody on this team is an artist. They have their own portfolio. They are photographers or filmmakers or sketch artists, painters. That's the most important thing, because training people is something that's not beyond our means. But teaching people art is something that really, you need the eye.
In a game like this, it's really not like there is no end, there is no winning. You participate in this virtual space. Really, when we talk about it, you know, a lot of the times we talk about not creating a game per se, but creating this world, a virtual world for people to inhabit. And you know, all the systems that we put in place are tools for them to participate in this world rather than play a game.
If you want to find out more about games and how they're developed, come to the Gamespot TV website.
There you'll find our entire feature and streaming video, plus extra interviews with game developers.
Coming up on Gamespot TV, after over a decade of silence, Strider's back with a vengeance. And Buzz Lightyear goes to infinity and beyond on your dream path.
To infinity and beyond.
Welcome back to Gamespot TV, a gathering of developers in Dallas, Texas. Now, in about 1989, Strider was a huge arcade game that eventually ported over to the Sega Genesis.
Now, it was a very revolutionary side-scroller for its time because it involved huge areas where you didn't just go left to right in, like in Double Dragon, but up and down and back and forth.
And now, finally, 11 years later, lo and behold, Strider 2.
Strider fans rejoice. After 10 long years, Strider Hiryu is back in his own game with Strider 2. It's a release that has a lot to live up to, considering how revolutionary the original was. Looking back to the arcade-dominated 80s, Strider 2 plays as an all-out action side-scroller. Once again, Strider has been called to eliminate the maniacal Grandmaster. In his way are countless foes, ranging from kung fu kicking China girls to cyborg mammoths. Strider 2 also resurrects many elements that made the first Strider so famous, such as the anti-gravity stages and charging down snow-capped mountains. The controls are tight and ultra-responsive. Strider now has more moves up his sleeve, and they're all simple to execute. While Strider 2 is short, there are incentives to play again. For instance, completing the game unlocks Strider Hiet, a character that is at times more powerful than Strider Hiryu. The visuals are a mix of classic 2D sprite artwork and 3D background. While characters could have had more frames of animation, the action is so fast that it's hardly noticeable. The soundtrack is great, and the sound effects are crisp and clean right down to Strider's sword swiping. You also get the first game as a bonus disc. Now newbies can see why people revere Strider so much. Strider 2 lives up to its Capcom franchise. Those new to the sword-wielding ninja will find this double set to be an excellent buy. Gamespot.com gives Strider 2 an 8 out of 10.
After the first game, no one saw anything of Strider until his appearance in Marvel vs. Capcom. That helped renew interest in the character and paved the way for the sequel. Toy Story 2 is a computer-generated animated movie, so having a game based on it allows for some pretty bad comparisons in graphics between the two. So one better hope that there's some pretty good gameplay.
I couldn't call myself his friend if I weren't willing to do the same. So who's with me?
8 months after the release of PlayStation and N64 versions, Toy Story 2 for the Dreamcast is out.
This is for Woody, when you find him.
Unfortunately, little effort has been made to make the game more than a direct port with trumped-up visuals. Having said that, Toy Story 2 is visually excellent, and the film naturally translates to the video game world.
But look at my little arms! I can't press the fire button and jump at the same time!
Toy Story 2 has all the usual platform elements, light puzzle solving, platform jumping, as well as coinage token collecting. Each of the 15 stages can be replayed for neglected tokens and forgotten mini-quests. While the game can be played with both the analog stick and digital keys, the analog borders on oversensitive, often making it impossible to move Buzz in a straight line. The control scheme works well with jumps, spin attacks, and first-person perspective functions.
Buzz Lightyear to Star Command. Come in, Star Command.
Gameplay provides a decent variety of platform conventions to buzz through. As for the camera, it's a bit temperamental, though not too bad. Overall, Activision has done a decent, if uninspired, job of porting the game to yet another platform. In truth, there isn't much aside from visuals that sets the Dreamcast version apart from the game's previous incarnations. Fans of the Toy Box crew will have no trouble getting down with their in-game counterparts. Gamespot.com gives Toy Story 2 a 5.9 out of 10.
To infinity and beyond!
Coming up on Gamespot TV, those bad boys of glam are back and ready to rock your PC all night. Or are they? And move over, Wipeout. We review NJ.
back to Gamespot TV in Dallas, Texas. Well, we figured since we were hanging out with Gathering of Developers today that we should take a look at one of their latest games.
Yes, now this game is based on the band Kiss, or more specifically, it's based on a comic book from Todd McFarlane. It's Kiss Psycho Circus, The Nightmare Child. Let's just say right off the bat that there's very little Kiss in Kiss Psycho Circus. The music and pictures is about it. In the game, you play 4 Kiss Life band members who collect various parts of Kiss costumes throughout each of their adventures. The game is a pure shooter, and Psycho Circus gives you a lot to shoot at, throwing up to 20 monsters at a time. Nothing to do, as there have been such dense swarms of creatures, all bent towards ensuring your demise. At first, this is an exhilarating experience until you begin to find the weaponry underpowered and unsatisfying, especially the slowest reloading shotgun in recent memory. Then you realize that the game isn't going to change that much from the first 10 minutes. Some of the monsters in the game are rather unimpressive, but they are balanced out with inspired enemies such as the Arachnicloud, that is a wonderful fusion of childhood fears. The environment you play in seems to be a collection of the greatest hits and shooters of yore. The castles of Unreal and the industrial docks of Kingpin seem to be referenced. There are some great concepts, like a giant bookcase to battle in. The game is fairly entertaining, but unless just shooting everything in sight is your bag, it's hard for the game to hold your attention for long. Gamespot.com gives it a 6.6 out of 10. For those Dreamcast owners out there, you can expect to have Kiss Psycho Circus, The Nightmare Child, at the end of September. And remember, it's also going to have online multiplayer play. Now, this next game comes to us from the same people that brought us the original Wipeout, but this time they've given up hovering attack cars in favor of planes.
Engine racing is a title that breaks ground in a genre that has been too dependent on gravity and 4 wheels. It's a Top Gun racer that uses spine-crunching jet planes that fly through compact yet deadly courses. Like other racing games, Engine features arcade and career modes. The arcade mode allows for single and multiplayer races. The career mode is deep. You earn money to buy and tweak your planes. You fly to earn permits and compete in tournaments and club races. The races are divided into 4 classes, each comprising of their own unique vehicle performance variables. You'll have up to 38 planes to choose from and 14 tracks to race in. The racing engine is solid, to say the least. You can choose the simple arcade configuration or the more complicated pro setting, which takes into account roll, pitch, and yaw. The game's major drawback is the cumbersome button configuration. A great deal of manual flexibility is needed to manage your throttle, afterburners, and weapons at the same time. Graphically, the environments are low in resolution, and there's a great deal of pop-up. The techno soundtrack is also generic, and the sound effects are muffled. But because the game's mechanics work great, these drawbacks are hardly noticeable. Engine racing is an innovative venture into a genre that demands reinterpretation. Gamespot.com gives Engine racing a 7.9 out of 10.
So that one looks pretty much like a cross between a high-end racer and a flight sim on caffeine. Now let's go on to our next title, which is the follow-up to the extremely successful Tenchu 2. And remember, when you're a ninja, stealth is key.
Please, don't! I'll stop when you die!
The original Tenchu was one of 1998's blockbuster titles for the PlayStation. Now the second installment of Activision's Ninja series comes in the form of a prequel, Tenchu 2, Birth of the Stealth Assassins. In the game, you play younger versions of the first game's heroes, Rikimaru and the Yame. In Tenchu 2, a rival ninja clan is conspired to eliminate the local lords, so that they may rule the land themselves. Rikimaru and the Yame are drawn into the conflict along with their friend and newcomer, Tatsumaru. The FMV scenes tell the story in a compelling and multi-layered fashion. And by the way, you won't see the full picture until you play through all 3 characters. All the stealth elements from the original game are in Tenchu 2, plus a slew of new moves. You now have underwater abilities like swimming and breathing. You can even search for fallen foes for items and drag their bodies to avoid discovery. Tenchu 2 is huge. There are a total of 29 distinct missions spread amongst the 3 characters. And you have a mission editor that offers 15 additional missions.
Enough!
Graphically, you get a mixed bag. Visual touches such as rain effects and motion blurs are good, though you'll also be dealing with occasional slowdown and pop-up. The audio, on the other hand, is near perfect. The score, voice work, and sound effects are all exceptional. As a follow-up to Tenchu Stealth Assassins, Tenchu 2 is a worthy installment.
Test my strength, Master. I am ready to be a ninja.
Gamespot.com gives Tenchu 2, Birds of the Stealth Assassins, an 8.3 out of 10.
A ninja.
Whoa! Coming up on Gamespot TV. Ever wanted to get a job playing games all day? We'll tell you how. And we have some codes to help make you make your goals.
Welcome back to Gamespot TV, here in the sound booth at Gathering of Developers in Dallas, Texas. Now, we received many emails from viewers asking us about how to get into the game industry.
Well, it's still a relatively new industry, so the career path hasn't really been clearly defined yet.
So, to find the answer, we went right to the source.
get a degree, get a degree, get a degree, get a degree. I can't stress that enough.
Good liberal arts education will do wonders. You know, the ability to express yourself clearly in writing and in speech. Some art classes. I mean, having a keen sense of aesthetics is really good.
No matter what direction you're going to go in, you're going to want to take computer science classes, period. Even if you want to be an artist, you should take computer science classes. Maybe not as many as a programmer, but you should definitely take computer science classes because you want to understand how the things work, because that affects everything you do.
I have a few courses in programming, and I got to say that it's helped a lot.
The industry as well is really solidifying right now. It's much more important to write good code than ever in the past, so it's very important you go learn the basics.
You know, if you really want to know how to write some code, I would be so much better at my job if I were a coder.
If you really want to get in the games industry, you go write a game on your own, and then you go show this to people. It's a good way to impress people. For Ion Storm, I specifically wrote a script using the characters in their game and gave it to them as a sample.
Having a book of maps that you can show off or other design stuff that you can show off that shows that you understand aesthetics as well as game balance and fun.
Sign on with a game company as a tester or something, and as a tester you work with everybody at the company, from marketing down to the programmers.
You want to be in the quality assurance department because they always need people who love games. It's a great way to interact with developers and show them what your design sense is like. It's the best way to get into the business I can think of.
So what we look for in QA people is attention to detail, being able to identify what they like or don't like about something. It is really easy to say, this sucks. It is significantly more constructive to say, this sucks, this is why, and this is what you can think about doing to make it better.
Play lots of games. But of course you have to balance that with your schoolwork. But definitely play lots of games. The more knowledge you have about games, the better informed you are, especially when you go into the interview process, because every interview I ever do, I always ask about games.
While it is an extreme example, a good instance of a few people getting together to create a game to gain entry into the games industry is Crow Team, a group of 3 Croatians who created the game Serious Sam, a title that has a test demo that has created one of the biggest buzzes in the industry. Now, Kudelka is a game that came out back in the spring. Didn't rate very well, but it has a pretty cool intro.
Too early, Angel. I'm not dead yet.
Not yet, but it looks like you're going to die soon.
Maybe. But you'll have to pardon me while I tend to some unfinished business first.
Business? What can you possibly accomplish in your condition? You can't even hold your gun steady.
Well, no one lets it try. This thing's not going to die unless I shoot it 2 or 3 times.
We've already shown you one soccer cheat for Virtuous Striker, which lets you play with pandas. Now here's one for Pro Striker 2000. Remember what your Little League coach said. Be the ball.
It's tough enough to master ball control in Dreamcast Striker Pro 2000. A good pass wide. To make things even more challenging, try these codes.
You just can't do that sort of tackle in football.
To give the ball a life of its own, hit up, up, down, down, left, left, right, right. Hit left, 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 right, left, right, left while the game is paused. Then hold left plus right and press right or left to move the ball. To unlock all teams and modes, press up, up, right, right, Y, Y, Y at the main menu.
Tremendous save by the keeper!
You really have to admire his cat-like agility to save that shot.
If you want more cheats, you know where to find them. Come to our website at zdtv.com.
Or if you missed anything in our feature on getting into the industry, that's on the website too, as well as extra bonus advice.
Now, we've had a wonderful time here in Texas, and we want to give a great big thank you to everyone at Gathering of Developers for hosting us today.
Indeed. Well, that's it for this edition of GameSpot TV. Until next time, game over.